Welcome back to another episode of Peep the Game, Finesse Accordingly. Hosted by yours truly, that Finesse, a TDF Apex Predator. Alright man, without further ado, let's just get right to it. This is going to be part 2 to the Dominic Carter Khallid Muhammad interview. Jump right in on some TDF shit.
So they make sure, my brother, that I have shoes on my feet, and that I have food to eat.
You've lashed out at some of my colleagues in the press, but if you've done any research about me, you would know that I don't back down easily.
Yeah, he thought he was really saying something right there.
So let me try it again.
That's why I want you to be a comrade in the struggle, because you're not a back down man. We need you, brother.
Let's answer the
The
question.
black nation needs you.
Where do you earn your living from, specifically?
Specifically from the masses of the people, as the pastor of the church, as the clergy of the church. As the clergy of the church, I have been wanting to be a minister since I was yay high.
Of what church?
And I am still the Church of Black Liberation Theology.
And so are you paid a salary?
I'm paid not only a salary, an expense account so that I can travel. So many people, as we do with ministers in every denomination, the suit that is on my back now was given to me. Some businesses in the black community throughout America help support us. Brother, we have so much love and so much support. I almost said you would be surprised, but some of this you already know, but I understand you have to do it like that.
Maybe I should try it again.
Again, Brother Khallid, he fully answers the question, but then he throws that slick jab in there.
Yeah, try. Will you please give us...
I almost said you would be surprised, but some of this you already know, but I understand you have to do it like that.
Maybe I should try it again. Try. Will you please give us an answer to specifically how do you raise your money?
That's something they told you to press me on over and over again. I have simply said to you, it is very clear. I have given an emphatically clear answer. As a minister in the black revolution and the black liberation struggle for our people, and a spiritual and cultural teacher among my people, I specifically, this is not a roundabout answer, sir.
Well, is it donations?
It's goofball. Brother Khallid done already answered the question over and over again. He wants to be able to quote him. Is it donations? Is it donations? His masters told him specifically to ask that question.
If someone gives you a suit, sir, that's a gift. It's a donation. If they give you clothes, even the house I live in was paid for by someone else, as God is my witness.
Was it paid for by the Nation of Islam?
No, sir, it was not. But the Nation of Islam has indeed been my foundation, and what I have learned from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is what gives me my base today and gives me my grace today by God's permission.
Minister Muhammad, how does all the anti-Semitic talk lift up black people?
I don't understand, sir, what you mean by anti-Semitic
You know
talk.
exactly
I don't
what
know
I mean.
what you mean.
When I say anti-Semitic talk, and I don't want to repeat the comments that you've made in some of
Then you don't want to ask me the question.
about the cracker comments, the comments constantly.
We go back.
Don't want to ask
When I say anti-Semitic,
what you mean by anti-Semitic
you know
talk.
exactly
I don't
what
know
I mean.
what you mean.
When I say anti-Semitic talk, and I don't want to repeat the comments that you've made in some of
Then you don't want to ask me the question.
about the cracker comments, the comments constantly about Jews keeping blacks down.
Let's look at that, sir, if you will. When I say, Brother Dominique, the cracker is a term of white origin. It is not a black term. And it is a term that has both a literal meaning and a figurative meaning. It means the cracker who cracks the whip or the whips with the old cat o' nine tails from chattel slavery. But it also indeed means one who cracks a whip today. Giuliani, Safer, who cracks a whip to keep his slaves or to keep his subjects or people he would like to be his slaves or subjects and would like to keep under his control, to crack that whip and keep them in line, to tell black elected public officials, I'm not going to meet you when Jallo was shot at 41 times, or Brother Abner Louima was sodomized. I'm not going to meet with you, but to immediately set up negotiations with the community, the so-called Jews in the Brooklyn area when something happens in their community. That's a cracker. We always said on the plantation, Lord, child, Lord have mercy. Here come the cracker man. He's the one who cracks the whip to keep you in line.
Okay, well, what is, besides the...
And the so-called Jews, I say so-called, not in mockery, Brother Dominic. I'm not playing to any cameras. They are the so-called Jews because we are the true Jews, the true Hebrews, the true and real Israelites whose birthright has been stolen by them. We are the true ones that fulfill Bible prophecy and scripture.
Isn't it a fact that you know, by throwing out those terms, you're guaranteed press coverage?
I'm not throwing out...
See, so Brother Khallid fully answers the question, right? And then Dominic can't really say anything to his points that he made. So he then goes in and tries to allege that, oh, well, you're just saying this just to get press coverage.
Terms, I'm fighting age-old enemies, and I'm planting seeds in the minds and hearts of the youth and the masses of my people that we will not make the same mistakes again. As they say in the so-called Jewish community, never again. Never again.
What happened in your life that gave you your personal experience, your perspective on Jews in your lifetime?
Study, experience, living, studying the teachings of Dr. Yosef ben Yachanan, studying the teachings of Dr. John Henry Clark, studying the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Malcolm X, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Dr. Barashango, and Browder, and...
Basically what Dominic tried to ask him was, what is it that made you so angry? Why are you saying all this stuff?
Akbar and many others. There are volumes of material, and even studying the book called The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, a book that thick with nothing but so-called Jew historians and scholars who explain their role in the black or the African Holocaust.
Do you have a Jewish friend?
No, sir, I do not have a...
Type of goofy. He really is just reading off a piece of paper at this point, a list of questions. He's just reading it off one after the other. Why would this brother right here have any quote-unquote Jewish friends?
A Jewish friend, I am the black Jew. I am the black Hebrew. I am a member of the family of the black Hebrew Israelites. But if you're asking me, do I have a white so-called Jew friend who is not in that line of Semites, so I can't be anti-Semitic? Did you know that there are Semites in Africa? Did you know that there are Semites in Asia? That there are some Semites so black until they're blue black, purple black, and beautiful? These are people using a political term, anti-Semitism, when it's really anti-Kemetism, an anti-black program.
Let me ask you this, and maybe you'll answer it and not attack me, but let me try this.
Oh, man. Dominic Carter, a.k.a. Scooby-Doo. At this point, his mind is completely messed up. He feels like he's been attacked, which technically, Khallid has thrown a lot of passive-aggressive, slick shots at him, right? But he hasn't directly, overtly said anything. But still, Dominic can feel that heat. He can feel that pressure to the point that he is now admitting that he's been attacked.
Term
His mind is messed up.
Anti-Semitism when it's really anti-Kemetism and anti-black program.
Let me ask you this.
He's hurt.
And maybe you'll answer it and not attack me. But let me try.
I haven't attacked you, brother.
The Uncle Tom.
I didn't call you an Uncle Tom.
You haven't used it yet, but
He said you haven't used it yet, but I feel like.
Why accuse me of something I haven't done? Okay. You're just like they are in that instance, but you're not like that in other ways.
And then he fires another shot. See, Dominic he made a deadly mistake. He got a little vulnerable. He said, maybe you'll answer this question and not attack me. Now he's trying to get some sympathy. And then Khallid says what he says, but throws that shot at the end of it.
Let me ask you this.
He basically says, look, I haven't called you an Uncle Tom. Then he, in a roundabout way, calls him an Uncle Tom again.
And maybe you'll answer it and not attack me. But let me try.
I haven't attacked you, brother.
The Uncle Tom.
I didn't call you an Uncle Tom.
You haven't used it yet. But
why accuse me of something I haven't done? Okay. You're just like they are in that instance, but you're not like that in other ways.
Well, here's the question. Besides the fact that you're an African American, what is the difference between you and David Duke?
The difference? Oh, that's a good question.
I guess David Duke was just like a extremely racist white dude of that time period. Ku Klux Klan member, the whole 9 yards.
No one has enslaved David Duke's people for over 400 years.
So what they're trying to do is they try to make him synonymous with David Duke, basically telling him that you're basically the black version of David Duke. What's the difference between you and him? So now he's going to answer that question.
American. What is the difference between you and David Duke?
The difference? Oh, that's a good question. No one has enslaved David Duke's people for over 400 years. David Duke's people, the white people, have not been in slavery under us, chattel slavery. David Duke's people, the white people, have not been robbed of their names, their language, their religion, their culture, their God, their folkways, their mores, their norms, and indeed robbed of the very power of their own being. So David Duke's people are in power. My people have experienced an African Holocaust, genocide, and we are being set upon and seized upon on a daily and consistent basis. One of the 7 points is reparations, 7 points of action to go after reparations for black people, fighting police brutality and harassment and the murder of our people. David Duke's people don't experience that. There is no comparison.
But critics will say he spreads hate, and so do you.
Look at that.
Sir, I can't be responsible for what the critics say. I can only be responsible for the actual facts.
Damn. Me personally, I look at that. That's like a shot at, like, not his profession, but Dominic's like lack of professionalism in what he's doing, right? Like, you are a reporter, right? So you're reporting, and everything you're asking should be factual. So for Dominic Carter, a reporter, to bring up what the critics are gonna say, it's like, okay, and then Khallid masterfully answers that, gives that answer. Like, okay, I can only be responsible.
And so do you.
Sir, I can't be responsible for what the critics say. I can only be responsible for the actual facts.
Let me talk about Mayor Giuliani for 1 second.
Then he just moves on. He says, fuck it. He got me there again. Let me just go to the next question.
You describe him as a cracker. You did it last year. You do it this year. But frankly, and you say you're a leader in the black community.
I didn't say that, sir. You said I'm a leader in the black community. Why are you giving me words here today?
Hasn't Rudy Giuliani...
Did I say I'm a leader in the black community, sir?
You have?
Did I say I'm a leader in the black community, sir?
You claim to be.
I have never said that, sir.
But can you answer my question?
Man, Scooby Carter, his mind is just completely, he's done. He's done. He's just trying to go through that list of questions at this point. I think at this point, he's realizing that he's losing. He's looking really bad. He's trying to stay tough. He's trying to hang in there, but Brother Khallid got him beat.
But I don't want you to base your question on a false premise as you do when I'm not present. I'm here today.
When you hold a Million Youth March and you say you're going to have 50,000 people, as you did last year.
And we did have 50,000 people. You know we didn't have 6,000 people. And you follow what the city says? You parrot what Giuliani and Safer say?
I don't parrot what any...
He attacks his manhood again. Oh, so now you see Dominic Carter try to pivot.
Well, where did you get the 6,000 figure?
And then Khallid starts pressing him.
I make my own observation.
Let's just watch it all again.
50,000 people. You know we didn't have 6,000 people. And you follow what the city says? You parrot what Giuliani and Safer say?
So that's a shot.
I don't parrot what anyone says.
Well, where did you get the 6,000 figure?
I make my own observation.
But you just told me the city said it. Now you say you got it from your own observation. Now, which one is actually true, Mr. Dominique Carter?
Dominic, a.k.a. Scooby-Doo Carter. We watching this man just get eaten alive. God. And it's like, bro, Khalid Muhammad is really playing him with kid gloves. Like, this is not even his preferred play style. Right? Where he's, being real slick, real subtle, throwing a jab here, throwing a jab there. Khalid, I mean, for those of you that are familiar with this brother and what he did and the debates he was in and other interviews he might have given, he was ferocious with it. And just his speeches, he was ferocious. He was I'm gonna cut your head off type of individual. I'm on your head. I'm coming after you. Right? So Scooby Carter, New York 1, they couldn't have possibly predicted that he would come in here with this kind of tact.
What's actually true is I make my own observations from looking from up and down.
And you saw only 6,000 people, sir?
I didn't say what I saw.
How many did you see?
Then he says, I didn't tell you what I saw. This man talking in circles. You supposed to be the reporter, man. You supposed to come correct. What's going on, Dominic?
1,000 figure.
I make my own observation.
But you just told me the city said it. Now you say you got it from your own observation. Now, which one is actually true, Mr. Dominique Carter?
What's actually true is I make my own observations from looking from up and down.
And you saw only 6,000 people, sir?
I didn't say what I saw.
How many did you see, sir?
But see, this is very interesting because you're...
Brother, we love you. Don't do that. Let's hurry and get to your question.
My question is, you criticize Mr. Giuliani, but isn't the fact of the matter, Mr. Giuliani has done much more for Harlem than you ever have?
Okay, so y'all hear his assertion, right? Okay, you're out here criticizing. I think Giuliani was the mayor. So he's saying, look, you're criticizing this man, but he's done more for Harlem than you have. All right, so let's see how Brother Khallid decides to respond.
I would have to say that that's not only incorrect from my perspective, but there are many, many, many black people. You perhaps from your seat and however big or little your check is may not be able to say it, but there are many black people who would have to.
That was another shot right there.
Disagree with you, sir.
Well, from building up 125th Street.
He tore down 125th Street. He's brought in white merchants, white commercial.
Now, Khallid's getting a little aggressive. You see how he just cut that man off?
Well, from building up 125th Street.
He tore down 125th Street. He's brought in white merchants, white commercial interests who are biting up Harlem.
Isn't the object,
Excuse me, sir.
To have jobs?
But if you are like Giuliani and your political platform is based on from welfare to work, and looks like it's from welfare to farewell to black people, then you would work hard to make sure that black people can set up their own businesses, since you are supposed to be, according to this white politics, the mayor of all of the people. Don't bring in outsiders as Negro politicians are saying in Harlem, the outsiders, talking about us. When I live in Harlem, Attorney Wareham lives in Harlem, scores of our organizers live in Harlem. These are outsiders coming in. If Giuliani meant well, he wouldn't have moved the vendors from 125th Street. This was the African marketplace of the world. People from all over Africa and Europe and the Caribbean looked forward in the Caribbean to coming to 125th Street. Make a way, if you're serious, that black people can set up department stores, shoe stores. Black people can set up their own businesses and build up the community where they are. That's the platform we stand on with the Million Youth March program of action, but it is not Mr. Giuliani's platform.
My question was, hasn't he done a whole lot more for Harlem than you have?
Dominic. You see what's going on, brothers? He's so caught up in his emotions and his feelings, right? Because he knows that he's been getting his ass whooped badly in this debate. It's not even a debate. It's not even supposed to be a debate. It's an interview, but it almost comes across like a debate. So he knows he's losing so bad to the point that he can't really think straight. He's not really listening. He's not paying attention. And he wants to battle. He wants to go head to head with Khallid.
And I've already...
Question was...
program of...
Hey, bro, Khallid literally just answered your question. He outlined the hypocrisy in Mayor Giuliani's approach to the black community in Harlem, or regarding the black community in Harlem. And then talked about how his organization is actually working to rectify those specific problems and are very, very focused on the black community and building up the black community. What part of that did you not understand?
But it is not Mr. Giuliani's platform.
My question was, hasn't he done a whole lot more for Harlem than you have?
And I've already answered you. Somehow you keep missing me.
What have you done for Harlem?
He said, somehow you keep missing me. And then you hear Dominic in the background. What have you done for Harlem? What have you done for... He mad.
Businesses and build up the community where they are. That's the platform we stand on with the Million Youth March program of action, but it is not Mr. Giuliani's platform.
My question was, hasn't he done a whole lot more for Harlem than you have?
And I've already answered you. Somehow you keep missing me.
What have you done for Harlem?
At this very moment that we sit here, I'm bringing black power, black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, black liberation theology, setting the stage and creating the atmosphere for gaining a greater knowledge of ourselves and history and our heritage, so that we, based on the program of Garvey and Elijah and Malcolm and Farrakhan and Carlos Cook and others, that we can begin to do something for ourselves instead of always waiting and depending on a handout from the slave master.
So based on...
Damn. It's like Khallid is just playing this man like a damn harp. He sets up the illusion. He'll answer the question, but not necessarily in the way that Dominic wants him to answer it. Dominic then takes the bait, tries to attack him, and play him like, oh, you're not answering the question. What have you done for Harlem? What have you done for Harlem? And then Khallid goes in to further explain in much more detail, much more depth, exactly what he's been doing. So let's see how Carter responds today.
Others, that we can begin to do something for ourselves instead of always waiting and depending on a handout from the slave master.
So based on what you just said, if you have only 1,000 people, maybe 2,000 out there tomorrow, will your event be a failure?
It will not be a failure because millions have heard our message. You've made sure of that, Mr. Carter.
What is your opinion of Dr. Martin Luther King?
I believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
So now he's about to try to guilt him.
Was a good man. I believe that his heart was good. I believe that he loved our people with all of his being, and he wanted to see us breathe free. I believe that he tactically made one mistake, and that was that he attempted to judge the white man by his own good heart.
And what does that say about Dr. King?
That says that Dr. King was one of the greatest that ever came among us. But like all of us, he was not perfect.
What would Dr. King think of what you're doing? What would, if he were alive today, what the hateful words that you have used to describe people, what would he think?
That is such a ridiculous question.
We say in the black community, you're too much. I mean, they've given you a list of questions. You're just making sure you go through every one of them. I hope they will give you a bonus, Mr. Carter.
Another shot. And all his jabs have been real consistent. They've reinforced a certain idea that he's putting forth about Dominic Carter, which is that he is indeed an Uncle Tom, which I would rather call a Scooby-Doo. Meaning he's there, he's employed, and he's just doing the bidding of his masters. Just regurgitating whatever it is they want him to say, whatever it is they want him to do, he's doing it. He's on the payroll. He is not, he is a member of the quote-unquote black community, but he's not. You know what I'm saying?
What would Dr. King think? You sit here and ask me what Dr. King would think. How could I possibly know what Dr. King would think? I think, though, that maybe Dr. King would understand that when you have a strong, militant, revolutionary, uncompromising voice out there, that it forces the enemy in a position to say, I'd better deal with Martin Luther King Jr. I certainly don't want to deal with the Black Power crew that's out there.
How do you go? And it's amazing. Is this something that you do with blacks that disagree with you? You have to be a Tom or a boot-licking, buck-dancing person? Where does this come from?
What is this brother talking about? You see what I'm saying? This is the playbook that he has, that he came to the battle with. You see what I'm saying? And it hasn't worked out for him. And unfortunately for him and New York won, they didn't have a plan B. They did not anticipate Khalid Muhammad coming in on some cool, slick, passive-aggressive stuff. They expected him to come in as a ferocious lion or something. So now he's just trying to force it. He's trying to force the dynamic that they prepared for. Like, what are you talking about? Let's go back.
Deal with Martin Luther King Jr. I certainly don't want to deal with the Black Power crew that's out there.
How do you go? And it's amazing. Is this something that you do with blacks that disagree with you? You have to be a Tom or a boot-licking, buck-dancing person? Where does this come from? I mean, you've made this charge several times to me during this interview. You know absolutely nothing about it.
I call you boot-licking?
No, you haven't. But you said, I hope they give you...
Am I disappointing you, Mr. Carter? And since I'm not saying those things, you're just going to give them to me. Is that what's happening?
Carter he's picked up on all the slick and slight jabs that Khallid has thrown at him throughout the entire interview, right? But they're nothing more than jabs. And because Dominic Carter doesn't have the same, or at least a similar level of intellect and intelligence and wittiness, right? And even just an ability to really communicate how he's feeling, what he's thinking. He's frustrated, right? He's trying to get Khallid to just go, all right, 1v1. Let's put all the cards on the table. Let's go back and forth. So that the narrative that they're trying to put forth about Khallid, that being that he's basically the black David Duke, he's racist, he's anti-Semitic, all these negative things, so they can all stick. And Khalid Muhammad has very, very cleverly in this interview basically completely outmaneuvered all those ideas, all those traps. But Carter, he's just not getting it.
No, you haven't. But you said, I hope they give you.
Am I disappointing you, Mr. Carter? And since I'm not saying those things, you're just going to give them to me. Is that what's happening?
No.
They're going to be angry with you when you come back because you couldn't get this across.
He keeps reinforcing that because he knows that is a very, very sensitive spot for Mr. Carter.
So you're going to give these things to me. I haven't called you that, brother.
You just said
Not one time.
You said they sent you with a list of questions, and I hope they give you a bonus when you get back to the station.
Well, does your wife hope that they'll give you a bonus?
You don't know anything about me.
Brother, I know that you have a family and a bonus could help.
It's time for break.
You see that white man's face? He's like, man, this nigga fucking up.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We now bring...
Let me go back and see that, and I'm going to try not to pause it, just so we can get it all in context.
About me. You haven't, but every time.
It's almost like mind control, you know what I mean? Like,
This is the enemy in a position to say, I'd better deal with Martin Luther King Jr. I certainly don't want to deal with the Black Power crew that's out there.
How do you go? And it's amazing. Is this something that you do with blacks that disagree with you?
so this is what's basically been on his mind throughout the entire duration of this interview, like what he's about to say right now.
You have to be a tom or a boot-licking, buck-dancing person. Well, where does this come from? I mean, you've made this charge several times to me during this interview. You know, absolutely.
And peep this. You see how in this instance, Khallid lets him talk. He does not interrupt him. At least in the beginning. He lets him talk a little bit longer than he has been. Right? Because he knows where he's going with it. Because he's prepared to hit him with this reaction. Like, what? I called you a Uncle Tom? You remember in the very beginning in part one is where, dang, what exactly happened? Okay, yeah. Carter was like, is the Uncle Tom line? Is that the best thing you got? And then Khallid was like, I mean, I didn't call you an Uncle Tom, but you said it better than it could be said. Pretty much from that point on, Carter has not been able to recover psychologically from that.
Nothing about.
And then, all the other jabs that were thrown at him throughout the interview. My bad. I know I said I wasn't going to pause it at this part, so let me go ahead and go back and play it.
Better deal with Martin Luther King Jr. I certainly don't want to deal with the Black Power crew that's out there.
How do you go? And it's amazing. Is this something that you do with blacks that disagree with you? You have to be a tom or a boot-licking, buck-dancing person. Well, where does this come from? I mean, you've made this charge several times to me during this interview. You know absolutely nothing about.
I call you bootlicking?
No, you haven't. But you said, I hope they give you.
Am I disappointing you, Mr. Carter? And since I'm not saying those things, you're just going to give them to me. Is that what's happening?
No.
They're going to be angry with you when you come back because you couldn't get this across. So you're going to give these things to me. I haven't called you that, brother.
You just said.
Not one time.
You said they sent you with a list of questions, and I hope they give you a bonus when you get back to the station.
Well, does your wife hope that they'll give you a bonus?
You don't know anything about me.
Brother, I know that you have a family and a bonus could help.
It's time for break. Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We now bring you the conclusion of Dominic Carter's interview with Khalid Muhammad, the man behind the Million Youth March.
Minister, we've talked about many topics. Let's now discuss your 7-point plan. And is it realistic? I mean, one of the things that you're talking about is paying African Americans for slavery.
Yes, sir.
Now, the President of the United States, how many presidents did it take to apologize for slavery? You have to know that that's not realistic. Reparations, that it won't happen.
Well, sir, the Japanese were paid reparations. The people who are called Jews were paid reparations. Some of our brothers and sisters of the indigenous people who are called by the white man Indians, some of our brothers and sisters were paid reparations, and we can never say that it is unrealistic. It is a goal. It is a platform. It is a just demand against our oppressors and those who indeed owe us to repair the damage. So because you feel that it is unrealistic is not reason enough that the youth would take it from the 7-point program of action.
Can you go through the 7 points quickly?
Please allow me to do that. I thank you. Number one, the program of action for the Million Youth March 1999 is to end police murder and brutality and the harassment of our people. Point number two, self-defense of the black community, to build the people's militia as a self-defense unit as the Constitution of white America allows for. Number three, control of the politics and economics in our communities, build independent political, social, and financial institutions in our community. All realistic goals. Number four, build independent schools, black liberation schools, community control schools, alternative schools, where we can train and teach our children a proper knowledge of self and education that will lead to a brighter future. One of our sub-themes of the march is saving our youth, securing our future. Black power into the year 2000 is the main one. Number five, reparations for the descendants of African people enslaved in the United States of America, we have just touched. Number six, free all political prisoners and prisoners of war. And number seven, self-determination for the black nation. 40 million Africans inside the United States are an oppressed and colonized nation, and our struggle, the youth say, and we back them up 100%, and it is our struggle also, is for national liberation.
What?
This brother died in, I believe, 2001. And just from this this short snippet of what he said earlier, like, I understand why I never heard about him when I was in school. They swept this man right under the rug.
Type of leader identifies an elected official? What type of leader?
He just goes on to the next question like he has nothing to say.
Identifies
say, and we back them up 100%, and it is our struggle also, is for national liberation.
What type of leader identifies an elected official, a council member,
yes, sir,
and then has his followers, or his followers then follows that individual for several blocks, and the elected official, Bill Perkins, Councilman Perkins, feels threatened?
I'm glad that they gave you the right questions. We never did that. That is why District Attorney Morgenthau could not indict me. That is why no warrant was issued. That is why in all of the clips that were played initially, Councilman Perkins called for my arrest. But you see me in none of the clips. I didn't tell anyone, go get him, go do this. And all of those who are around him, all of them, just a second, all of them who are around him are his own supporters, and they're the ones jostling him and moving him. Not one of the brothers or sisters, the youth that I watched from across the street, ever touched him. Not one of them ever threatened him, but in the tradition of Harlem, as we always have done in Harlem, they did ask him why this and why that and how come you this and how come you that. I think it was a good exchange. There is no need for the councilman to fear any violence or physical harm from us, but we are going to send the councilman home come election time so he can watch the activities of Harlem from the television set comfortably at home.
What do you say to those that say you are nothing more than a con man?
I would say that I am gaining, by the grace of God, the confidence.
Another thing I've noticed is that in this interview, Carter he rarely threw direct shots of his own. He was always hiding it behind or coaching what he was saying or coaxing what he was saying in oh, well, the critics say, or what do you say about people that say this? And it's like, brother, if this is how you feeling, just say it.
dense. Television set comfortably at home.
What do you say to those that say you are nothing more than a con man?
I would say that I am gaining, by the grace of God, the confidence of my people, that they see me as not one who will turn heels on them and run or grab the money as the lie goes out when we played video film after video clip in court. And there is no evidence to support that. I think that I have gained to a great degree their confidence, and we were in the what is called the Latino community, and they shouted in the streets, chanting when we went through and when we stopped to greet them. I have gained the confidence of our people, and God is increasing that confidence on a daily and consistent basis. But if by that you mean something negative, I have never been that, and it's not in me to be that, sir.
Minister Khallid Muhammad, thank you very much for joining us on New York One.
Thank you. I hope you get that bonus.
And then he ends the interview with another jab. Man. Yeah, I hope you brothers enjoyed that video itself and then my reaction to it. And honestly, I think there's a lot that can be gleaned from it, a lot that can be learned from it. You know what I mean? The most important thing being the fact that passive aggression, although it is a play style that a lot of weak individuals, especially in today's society, like to utilize, especially on the black man in the workplace, it's still a weapon that can be used and really do some damage. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not every situation or every circumstance where you can say exactly what is on your mind and you can be completely blunt and really just go on the attack. You know, sometimes you're gonna have to be slick. You're gonna have to be subtle. You're gonna have to be deft and have some finesse in how you maneuver, not just as far as your actions, but as far as what comes out of your mouth, what you're saying, especially to certain individuals. You got to peep people's different personalities, right? You got to peep their mentalities. What are their goals? What are their objectives? You got to understand all of that. In other words, you have to stand up and